Go ahead and get started. I'll call this meeting to order. Kelly, again, you don't need to do a roll call, or do you? Can you take it from Zoom?
I think I can take it from Zoom. And I think we have a visiting member of the public, Molly. Welcome, Molly.
Hi,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, welcome, Molly. All right, so we'll get underway, and the first order of business is to approve the minutes from August 17th. Kelly circulated the draft minutes late last week, so I hope members have had a chance to look it over. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I have a couple of comments.
Okay.
Two tweaks. One, in the approval section, there's a C in the Schultz-Fiechner of my name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And then in the, I think it's number 3 in the communications section, there was a statement that said we'd translate the website into Hmong and Spanish. And I wanted to make sure we were clear that we were suggesting translating any of the materials into Hmong and Spanish, not just the website.
Okay.
And then the last item was there was no health. We did not have a vision statement for the health section, and the team did provide one to Kelly recently. So we did send a draft out for people to see.
Okay, thanks for those corrections, Chris. That's helpful. Any other comments, corrections? Okay, if not, would someone like to move to approve the minutes?
I'll move.
Thank you, Chris. Is there a second? Thank you, Spencer. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Let's move on to the public comment period. We do have a member of the public present, and then of course, members of the committee can also make a public comment if they wish. So do we have anybody who would like to make a public comment? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the third item, staff updates. Kelly, back to you.
Okay. I was out all last week, except for Friday, but that was just working on the agenda for this. And so I'm a bit out of the loop, but I do have the comprehensive plan timeline for how the comp plan will run through the different committees and then go through plan commission and be approved. I sent it out to the committee, the timeline attached to an email today, and I'll also post it in the minutes of this meeting. But basically, we have all of this month, and then we will also have an opportunity to discuss the plan in October's meeting. And we'll have another member of the planning department at that meeting as well, so that they can answer questions, especially on other sections of the plan that I didn't write or have my eyes on it as much. And then after that, we'll have 2 or 3 weeks to do revisions based on the feedback from not only sustainability, but pretty much all the other commissions as well, who this will be circulating through over the next couple months. And then in November, we will present a version plus the feedback from the committees to Plan Commission. And I think at that meeting, they will either suggest to approve the comp plan, and then it'll go to council in December sometime. So they do, I think, hopefully want to get it approved by the end of the year. But the main thing for this committee to know is that you have 2 chances, today and also next month, to talk about the comp plan. In other news, I spoke at a regional USGBC, that's United States Green Building Council regional webinar series on resiliency and equity, and how cities are using LEED certification to leverage their equity work in their cities. And so the reason it was exciting to me was that it was a small group, but it was all the folks from Minneapolis and St. Paul and a couple other cities in the Midwest, and then Mahesh, who's The CEO of the United States Green Building Council was on the call as well. He and I were panelists. And so it was really more of a conversation, which was nice. And I told him about how our city is planning to work with two nonprofits, Sustain Dane and Elevate Energy, which are from Madison, on identifying some naturally occurring affordable housing stock here in Middleton that we might work on energy efficiency projects in to help lower energy bills, and also to help with comfort and energy efficiency for emissions. And I was talking about how there seems to be a gap, or one of the challenges that's come up when we talk to Elevate Energy and Sustain Dane is the fact that we'd also like to provide equity through hiring women-owned businesses, Black, Indigenous, people of color-owned small contracting businesses to do the weatherization work or the energy efficiency work. But a lot of the companies that are smaller don't have the right credentials to do some of the work, so it keeps them out of getting access to that work. And Mahesh jumped in and said, we really need to support, towns like cities like Middleton that are smaller. He said, so he goes, we will find the money, and we would like to come and do work on this project with you and offer our expertise and our staff and money to help you credential some of these contractors. And I didn't really know what to think of it, if he was for real or what he really meant by that. And he just kept saying it. He said, don't worry about the money. He said, we'll find the money. We'll get you the money. And he goes, you work with the regional reps, and we'll send, the people we need to send to help you with this. So I don't want to take on a huge new project or work, but I know there's probably other people working in this space in the Madison area, working to help upskill contractors and credential them, and I need to look into that. It's not something I know off the top of my head, but I just thought it was interesting that he really wanted to jump in, and he was really thinking. He said things like, if our big global company only supports cities like Beijing and New York City and all those types of cities, he said, we're not really meeting the needs of every other person, all these other smaller cities and towns, and we need to provide help, but also like a pilot to be able to showcase how these smaller cities can do this really innovative work and help with the green economy and all that kind of stuff. He talks a mile a minute. Like, I could not even be able to fit all the things he said in 5 or 10 minutes into this 2-hour meeting. So anyway, I thought that was just kind of exciting, but I don't have anything more to update you on that because I haven't reached back out to the regional reps because I was gone last week. So I'm going to do that tomorrow and try to get some more information about it. And hopefully it could be something that maybe I don't have to work on specifically. It could be more like lead people work with the folks already working in this area and then work with Elevate and Sustain Dane, but hopefully draw in some of the folks from our region into obtaining some of this work for job creation. So we'll see.
And Kelly, just to clarify, USGBC is the umbrella organization behind the LEED certification. And so this is kind of flowing out of the LEED for Cities work that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it was really, Mahesh is global. I mean, it's a global thing. It's not just national, and he's the head CEO. So it came from the very top. And I think the reason that I was even on this call is because we're part of that 20 city cohort this year that got the LEED for Cities grant. And so I think the appeal of Middleton is that, there's other cities in this cohort like Newark and Louisville and Charlotte and some bigger cities, but we're the smallest city in the cohort. So I think we're unique in that sense that we're doing good things and interesting things, but we maybe don't have the tax base for the funding to just jump on big things quickly. And he recognized that and thought maybe that'd be one way they could help us. And also provide sort of a template for other smaller cities to do this work. So we'll see. I mean, a lot of opportunities come about and then they fizzle, but it's recorded. He's recorded saying that. So,
Kelly, to me, that's like, I've never thought of the sustainability committee as a job creator. Okay, like, I mean, I think there's, you know, my mind's kind of just pinging all over the place as I'm doing this, but I think it's can be a great thing if there's a way to do it. Obviously, we don't have the manpower to do and to train people, but like if we could be an engine that brings jobs, and we know it brings people to the city, but that's super cool. I think it'd be a great partnership.
Yeah,
I mean,
Kelly, awesome.
Well, it's not at all in my wheelhouse of expertise. I'm not, I don't know. And even having worked a bit in the building industry with LEED, I don't understand any of the like credentialing, labor laws. And I think I sort of got a little scared when he said that and started to say that stuff. And he was like, no, we will send all the expertise and people and money and we'll do it. We'll like do the program for you. And I don't know what that means. You know, it would have to be working with local folks, and I'm sure that they know that too. But I think just the fact that he saw that there was that gap and then was just like, we got to fill that gap and help you overcome that was enough for that conversation. And now the devil's in the details. But like I said, like none of us have time to take on a massive thing. But I think it might be something that Elevate Energy along with Madison and Sustain Dane might be able to say like, okay, this is how we could use this amount of money, and this is you know, what we would love to see, and maybe USGBC can provide, kind of meet those needs, and it maybe doesn't even have to come from me or us. But yeah, if we can be the catalyst, it might be great.
Yeah.
Kelly, as long as we're on this subject, what is your plan to follow up on this offer? And, you know, just looking at the different chapters of the comprehensive plan, it seems to me there are other committees and other divisions within the city government for which this would be a better fit. I mean, it's great for you to be the one connecting people initially to start the conversation, but it does sound like it's going to be much more than you'll be able to take on. And I do think there are reasons to connect Mahesh, you said his name is, with both Sustain Dane and Elevate Energy, but also other staff and committees within the city government.
Yeah, I'm still a bit thinking about how to do that. I mean, I need to have a conversation with Elevate and Sustain Dane. And then I need to also have a conversation with the regional folks just to keep the ball rolling and ask them more pointedly, what does he mean by grant money? What does he mean by money, expertise? Like what do you think he's talking about? Or do you not know and you just want us to tell you, like that kind of conversation? And then I need to talk to I think, you know, Mike Davis, city administrator, Abby, who's head of economic development and planning, and probably workforce housing committee. Maybe they deal with a lot of housing issues. So yeah, like there's internal conversations too, but first I just feel like I need to reach back out to the regional USGBC people to say like, hey, remember this? I haven't forgotten about this. What do you know, get a little bit more information maybe. And they work with Mahesh probably more directly, so they could ask for some follow-up. I don't know. And
is Mahesh out of Madison?
Oh no, he's like, I don't even know where he lives, but he, you know, he's all over the world all the time. I forget what city he lives in. He might live in DC.
Do you have his contact information?
Yeah, I mean, I could contact him too. Definitely.
Honestly, if I were in your shoes, I would have a conversation with him first, just to keep him on, you know, on the hook and not lose that momentum, and ask him as directly as you can if he could help you understand what all his offer entails. You know, is there something in like a prospectus, or, you know, maybe they have a fact sheet or something, anything that you could point to help you reach back to your folks in city government and in the area. You know, I would ask him for information that you can share with others instead of going to the others first and then going back to him. I think strike while the iron is hot. That would be my suggestion.
Thanks, that's good advice.
Yeah,
I'll do that. It'd be nice.
I think if you go not only offer him see what his offer is, but understanding what his vision of what can be done. Like economic development and job creation is something that every president for the last 50 years has been trying to do. Like I think like if it's something that is if he has like not only what is he willing to offer, but what is his vision of how this could actually happen, because I'd be fascinated to hear what he has to say and be able to do that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll ask him that. I know he said at one point, he said, we are the, you know, worldwide credentialing people, basically. I forget how he said it. He's very articulate, and I am not right now. But he was basically saying, if we can't get people credentialed and certified in whatever ways they need to do this work for climate change, he was like, we are those people. So he said, we can do that. That's one thing that we can do. I think he heard credentialing, upskilling, certification, and he was like, boom, we got this. We're going to do it. So to ask him his vision is important.
An additional angle that strikes me is that if he's thinking of Middleton solely in terms of the fact that its population is around 18,000 or whatever the current estimate is, and not appreciating that we're part of a good-sized metroplex, there might be a basis for kind of exploring a regional engagement that, you know, basically the contractors and the people that would be affected and could benefit would be part of this Madison metro area, and he might be also interested in that level. And I think that would help spread the load of work out so it wouldn't all fall on you or on Middleton.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. And one person I also need to have a conversation with is Norman. I can't remember his last name. Maybe one of you knows him. He's the head of the Civil Rights Commission in Madison. And he was on a different USGBC webinar conversation that I took part in that same week. It was before the one where I spoke. But he spoke, Norman from Madison spoke at a different webinar, and he mentioned something about helping contractors upskill for green economy jobs. So I know that other people are already doing some of this. So it may be like providing extra capacity or funding or a larger expansion of what Madison's already doing and making sure that Middleton gets included in that. So you're right, like it shouldn't necessarily be limited just to Middleton, but I do want to safeguard our city to really bring some of that here too. Just selfishly, I really want to do that for our community. And I think sometimes the suburbs get kind of lost because Madison is always the shiny beacon of, let's do it in Madison. Well, Madison will do it.
Well, when you talk to him, if you didn't already emphasize this in your presentation, I would mention, you know, Middleton's firsts and, you know, the things that we have blazed the trail on, and the city's ongoing pride in having that status and desire to keep being the first when we can, you know, to show other cities things that they can do. We like to be the pioneer.
Yep. Good too. Thanks for this feedback. It's really helpful because I was like, great, there's another really exciting ball in the air. Now what? So yeah, that's good. That's about all I have for update on that. There's no update on the solar project. That's just been, I was on vacation and then the engineer was on vacation, but he's turned in all the documentation. Now it's simply Sean Olsrud is our engineer, and I deciding how to bid the project. Do we bid it this year and give the timeline of the next year, or just wait until January? We will not do the installation of solar until early 2021. And that's because Focus on Energy grants are gone for the year. And in order to secure that money, it's just a pot of money. It's first come, first serve. They give you the amount of money based on how many kilowatts of solar you're putting on the building. So it's prescriptive, and we'll just secure that money at the very beginning of the year. And so that's what we'll do. It's just, I don't exactly know when that bid will go live, if it's going to be this year or early next year.
And this is for the three municipal buildings?
Yeah. And one good thing about having to wait is that we could potentially then have the time to get like a display and the computer monitor thing set up at Lakeview, so that when we do energize that solar in early 2021, we can do a more, I mean, COVID will probably still be here. I don't know what it'll be like with gatherings, but even if it's just 2 people and it's videotaped by someone, can be a more formal kind of ribbon cutting to showcase all these going online, and then our display and how we're communicating our energy goals to the public. It could be kind of a communications thing. If we, since we're waiting until early next year, we'll have the time hopefully to develop that display maybe.
Kelly, there's no guarantee that Focus will have money next year. We're just basing that off of what they've done in the past, correct?
Oh, I hope so. I don't even, you're right, Chris. I don't even want to hear it,
Not
but you're right.
trying to bust your bubble. Just I was just
know.
thinking, like, could there, is there a possibility that they wouldn't because they cut their budget or whatever due to COVID or?
That is possible. I know that pretty much all the comments I saw that were given to the governor's task force, not that the governor has any sway with our legislature, but I know that it's a huge thrust of most municipalities that Focus on Energy keeps their funding. That it was sort of like the one thing that shone through all the comments was like, you must keep Focus, if not enhance the funding for municipalities to do renewable energy projects. So I'm hoping that that will be secure, but you're right, we don't know. And the other thing that is somewhat hopeful is that if they do have a pot of money, even if it gets reduced or it's smaller, we might literally be like one of the first out of the pack, because we'll have our bid docs ready to go like January 1 and secure the whatever's there. Whereas this year it just got so late in the year, we could have done it, but by the time that we were right on the edge of not knowing if that money would be there. So
Right. Okay.
anyway,
Just checking.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. That's true. We have to keep that in mind. We would still do solar. We would just have to scale it back by about $20,000 of the amount, which would be really sad. Okay, and then the other updates are I'm working with the Legacy Alliance for Community Health and Public Health at UW, the Population Institute, and the Frameworks Institute. They're sort of working together on this project to help communities develop narratives to talk about race and talk about COVID recovery with demographics in your community that maybe haven't had as much of a voice or haven't been had a lot of outreach in the past. And so it's more about like I'm scheduling some one-on-one calls, and they're going to help coach me do some mapping for who's already working in this space. I mean, I think we already know, but they're just going to go through that with me, sort of kind of coach me on some of the ways they've done outreach and how they frame equity data. Because as we get the demographic and equity and distributional wealth and some of this data from our lead research, then it's taking that information out to the public to talk about it and talk about more of the qualitative public engagement we'd like to you know, like to work with people in our community on that. So, you know, I guess it's just help for me to know how to do that. So I'm working with those folks on that. We've had some back and forth, and I'm scheduling a call for next week to talk through some of that stuff. And this all came out of our health and all policies work that we were doing for our community campus development before COVID hit. We were really getting ready to launch into the health and all policies public engagement on talking to the community about what they'd like to see with their civic assets, and trying to do much more engaged discussions rather than it just be the city going out and doing public hearings or providing a chance for people to provide input. We were trying to do something much more interactive with the public and build civic engagement and that kind of stuff. So we're trying to continue that work, but just not necessarily through the lens of we're going to build a building anytime soon, because who knows what's going to happen with our budget in the next couple of years. And then the last two things. One is that I met with Allison Madison from the Metropolitan Sewerage District, and she works on the Saltwise program. She's a Middleton resident, and she would like to talk to us about salt reduction in Middleton. And she and I talked about making January like salt reduction month, not that name, but that's what it would mean. And that would be a part of our Resilient Landscapes initiative that I want to start rolling out in the months where it's appropriate to talk about it. And so there's some trainings that staff will go to in the next month about salt reduction, both with water softeners and with street salt and sidewalk salt. And then there'll be grants that are opened up because we do the trainings. Then we're able to access pots of money, like basically from the 5,000 to 10,000 range, on getting equipment that helps city staff use less salt and use more of the like mechanical equipment to remove snow and that kind of thing in the winter. So she might come and speak for 10 minutes at maybe our November meeting, I'm thinking. And then the last thing is that when I was doing this agenda, I was going to put budget deliberation on this agenda to discuss what we had been talking about in the previous months about different operating budget line items and that kind of thing. But over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I haven't been in the office as much, or I haven't been working on that as much, and I don't have really any useful information on, I just didn't feel like I could advance the discussion that much. So I'm hoping to do that next month and bring a more robust set of information for you all to look at and respond to with, you know, potentially in which years we could do some of the work we've talked about with communications, website updates, electric bicycles, just some of the stuff that our operating budget could cover, but try to get bring some actual numbers to the table that you can look at and respond to, and also some potential maybe ideas about consultants who could help us with both the display and communications and maybe the plan, writing the plan. That wouldn't all be the same person, obviously, but I just didn't have any thing for you to really respond to this month. So I'm hoping we can talk about that next month.
When is the budget due?
The budget, we just need to spend, we don't have to spend it, but you know, we can spend our operating budget up until the end of December.
I'm sorry, you were talking about submitting a budget for next year. You were talking about spending our budget.
Yeah, I was talking about spending our operating this year and also next year. Like it's good to think like, okay, we could do this year, but then, you know, next year might be better to spend operating on this chunk next year. And I have been meaning to divide our list of items up into potential this year versus next year based on workload and that kind of thing. And I just haven't done it to the point where I feel like it'd be efficient to have a long conversation about it. So I'm going to try to get that really clear for next month. And that,
Kelly, when we're talking budget also, if I can, you're talking about the salt reduction. I mean, the city, the education and the city streets, like that's a huge, probably the biggest one, but the water softeners, if we're talking budget, which we're past this year's budget cycle, but I know we did the toilet rebate in the past. We could do something as a water softener rebate. I mean, if there's a budget item if it really is the city's goal to reduce the salt, the old water softeners are so terrible with that part of it, that if we could get those to all be upgraded, anything older than 10 years or 20 years, like I think if there's an incentive that we could offer and partner with Helen Brand or some local company, like I think that could be a very good future budget item to fight for, because we can educate all we want, but if we aren't really paving the way for people to do it, I worry that we might not get anybody to bite on it.
yeah, I've had some talks with, it wasn't Allison only, but talking about doing a much larger grant with the city for, to replace, some really large water softeners in buildings to make a bigger dent. Because that's really where, I guess that's really where a lot of the salt comes from, is from water softeners, not from road salt. So yeah, there is like larger pots of money for that type of infrastructure change.
And what about our, like we have the toilet rebate and the commercial water audit rebate. I know we were kind of told if we want to we can kind of tweak that program how we want to. What if we tweak that program to be a water softener? Like, one, it's going to save a ton of water because those things use a lot less water now than they do. Plus, it's salt. Like, could we retweak that money that we're getting from the water from people's water bills and actually put it towards water softeners?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I feel like that's within our purview. I honestly don't know a ton about the other old programs. I know that there's going to be a couple big projects that are going to happen before the end of the year that will use some of that money. So I'm glad to see it being used. I think Lakeview Shelter wants to, not Lakeview Park Shelter, the Splash Pad wants to use some of that money for the water use rebates, incentives, that program. And then there's another big project, I think in the city that's going to work on it. I forget who that is. But yeah, like I think we could tweak that if we wanted to.
Would you look into that and maybe bring that back next month? That, to me, that program has run its course, and I feel like there's still money. There's $50,000 every year for that, 25 for commercial, 25 for residential. That if we can take that money and repurpose it, I feel like that could be a powerful thing we could do.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good suggestion.
Hey,
And Kelly,
can you hear me?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I did get in, Kelly. So please put me as having attended the meeting.
Okay.
How much money do we have left in our operating budget this year that we're not going to have trouble spending?
I think we have about 8,000, maybe 8,500.
Well, is there any way? I mean, I don't want to see us turn that money back if we could do something sustainable with it. Is there any way we could use some of that money to help even some of our own government needs to upgrade their salt equipment or something like that?
That's a good
I mean, it would be a one-time thing, but we could spend it this year rather than just waste it. I mean, $8,000 is a lot of money to spend. I don't know. We talked before, Lisa, about the consulting. I'm sorry I missed the last meeting, but I'm not sure. How are we going to spend $8,000 between now and December?
Well, Kelly has some ideas, and we'll talk about those next time. But one thing that occurred to me is, we were just talking about the problem with Focus on Energy not having money, or maybe not having money. If we need to cover a $20,000 shortfall, could we not consider bidding the project late this year and using whatever's left of our budget to put towards like a down payment on whatever is going to be done next year? Or is that not fiscally allowed.
Yeah, we can't unfortunately carry it over to be spent in 2021. And since the installation won't happen till then, we can't carry it over. But there's going to be things also in the city budget that, you know, operations, I know operations is asking for capital budget to relamp their parking lot lights and finish the municipal operations building LED transition. So with the budget being so tight, like it didn't go through last year. They had it in the budget last year and it didn't get approved. So it's very possible that they'll approve it partially or it won't get approved again, in which case we could, you know, if we have money left over, we could always pour that money into, that might be a quick, easy way to relamp with LEDs if it doesn't pass in this year's budget. But you know, because they make those decisions before the end of December. Like those decisions are basically made in October, so we would still have time to put forward the money for like a bigger project like that. But I also want it to be covered through capital if possible.
And you're going to next meeting, you have that as agenda item, how to spend the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can really talk about it, and I'll try to bring like a lot of information that you can really look at and understand where the money could go and how much it might cost, and you know, whether it could be spent this year or next year, how to divide that up. I just haven't been able to put time to that in this month, unfortunately. I know everything's critical right now.
Would you be able to share that document with us 2 weeks before the meeting?
I'll try. I'll try.
The nice thing about buying lamps is you can buy as many as you have money for, you know, and we just keep chipping away at our overall goals. And if they don't have money in this year's budget, we can help them out. Same with the water softener stuff, you know. I mean, we look at our own operations first, and if we're trying to upgrade a whole bunch of stuff and it costs a lot of money, particularly you're buying 1,000 bulbs or something, well, we could buy 500 or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I think the last we should make, if there's anything hanging in the air and we really haven't thought of anything to do specifically, then we'll have to make that decision in our November meeting. There just won't be time for last minute stuff in December during the holiday season and all that. So we'd have to make that decision on November. And we'll talk about it next month and we can make some decisions. But if we're really at a loss for how we're going to spend like $4,000 or something, then we need to be able to make a decision in November.
Okay.
Agreed.
One of the things that we had talked about was to give a donation to Seed the Need, which is putting in a prairie at the Acre Farm, which was going to help with flooding issues, etc. I have literature on that now, that if you want the literature, I can send it to you so that people can see more what that is. But the platinum prairie they're talking about is to get seed for other Dane County prairies as well. So that's one of the advantage, I guess, of having a really diverse prairie is that that prairie seed is really expensive. So if we can harvest from one prairie to seed other prairies, that's really a good thing too. And all of those prairies are going to be absorbing water. So infiltration is the key.
Yeah, that's great. That would be great.
Great.
Well, the Acre Farm, is that in Middleton, actually? That's part of your conservancy now, right?
Right. It shares a border with the conservancy, the Dane County portion of the conservancy. Yep.
So that is in Middleton, actually.
Well, I'm not sure it is.
I'm not sure it is either. I think it's the Dane County is the one who bought it. But I guess we need somebody from
all good project. I just want to see us put the money in the Middleton stuff, but
but Dick, this is affecting Middleton because it is infiltrating stormwater that is going to protect Middleton from flooding.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the acre farm, I don't know. Hey, that's fine. We'll discuss it.
Yep. Kelly will share some ideas with us, and there's a small expense that I still think is worthwhile, and that is for members who might want to go to the Sustain Dane Annual Summit on December 3rd. I just bought my ticket as a member over the weekend, so I'm planning to go. It's virtual, of course, but I do think that would be a good opportunity for some of the folks to participate. I know a lot of people got to go last year when Abby was nominated for an award. So anyway, that's a small expense, but definitely a 2020 expense.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly, did you have any other staff updates?
Nope, that's all for me.
Okay.
I had one follow-up question with the discussion about the $25,000 for residential, 25 for commercial from the water department. What exactly is the rubric that funding is available for, and does that expire at the end of the year, or does that get retained in some way? What?
We've been doing this for several years. The water utility decreased its rate some years ago. Angie may remember. It might have been 4 or 5 years ago. They increased the rate. We fought to get part of the rate increase to fund 2 different projects to help people save money with the rates going up. One of them was to do a $100 rebate on toilets. And the other one is to do water audits for commercial businesses. We could never, there's not really water auditors for commercial businesses out there. So it's been money that's kind of hasn't gone where we'd hope, but like the Radisson, I think, upgrade a lot of their toilets in order to make them more energy efficient. But that money is out there and being collected every year. And it's at the end of the year, if you don't use it, you lose it, is my understanding of whatever the time frame is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where the project is. I'm not deeply entrenched in it, but like if we've gone back to the Public Service Commission before and said, hey, can we tweak this? And they said, as long as it's within the purview of water, they were okay with it. Water savings, so that's one where maybe we can tweak the program and say, instead of giving rebates on toilets, we're giving rebates on water softeners now, or water softeners. I mean, to me, it seems like a natural step, but it might not be. I don't know that.
Right. I guess I'm going to underline then the significance and importance of looking at that program before the end of the year, because if the $50,000 theoretically could do some significant sustainability work for us, and if we're kind of losing track of it and it's just disappearing.
So Kelly did say that there is several larger projects that are happening this year because of it. And that was like Lakeview. And so there is money that is being used on that. So I don't think it's totally been lost, but whether it's this year or next year, maybe it's worth a revisit to tweak it.
Yeah.
I know I pulled up an email from Abby, and Middleton Shores Apartments are looking at using $4,000 of the commercial this year for a toilet conversion project. And then Matt Amundsen in the city would like to use some of the money to help with, they're going to convert, I think, the splash pad water cycling system over, and looking to spend money. How would he do that? And so Abby responded that the PSC generally will request a written letter explaining why the funds are being used outside of the prescribed uses, which right now are like toilet rebates, pre-rent spray valve rebates, and water audits. But as long as you can make a good case to the PSC that you're going to save water, then she thinks generally they are receptive to that. But it would require a written letter explaining why the funds are being used in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you can justify it, they'll be okay with it. But, we can't promise until we would get the approval from them.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Kelly?
Yep. I just have a quick comment, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead, Andy.
I think if we have resources, I think probably thinking about 3 things. So the first one is e-waste, electronic like waste. So how could we do a better job on that? And the second thing is since now we are paying attention to social justice and equity issues, could we allocate more resources to those issues? And I think that's also related to sustainability too. I think we will all agree. And the third thing is, I think this few years we will probably have a more PPE, and how can we do a better job, to help that pollution, to reduce that, to eliminate. I think in the next few years that would be a key thing for us to think about. If we have extra resources, or we are thinking about like budget issues and so on. So that's my observation. Yep. Thank you.
That's great.
Great. Thank you, Andy. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, Kelly, thank you very much.
Can I ask a quick question? Maybe Kelly
Sure.
knows this. Have we used all the Maury Airport? Has that all been the shares all been taken up, or is there still some left?
I'm not sure. We don't administer that or have anything to do with it. It's really MG&E. So I think that might even be on their website if there's any shares left. The last I heard, there were a few left. I don't know what a few means. I think I haven't heard the figure 80% were purchased, but that was probably 2 or 3 months ago. And it did just come online about that time.
I took all I could, but I'm trying to go around the neighborhood and promote it, and I've had a few people interested, but I just wanted to know if we have any left. I mean, that's part of our overall goal. If we can get people to sign up, that helps Middleton meet its carbon neutral goal, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yep, it would be our community.
Good suggestion, Dick. Okay, well, let's move on to item number 4, which I think is going to be Daphne. It's the Middleton Cross Plains Area School District School Resolution Update and approval of committee support for Dane County Youth Climate Change Initiative. Daphne?
Hi, everyone. Okay, so for the resolution work this month, we added 6 more students onto the sustainability committee, including 1 boy and 2 sophomores. It was really important for us to include sophomores because we really want our work to continue even when we graduate. We are going to have a meeting with the committee, students in the committee, to create a video on the resolution and send it to all the teachers in the district to show to their class. And we are currently scheduling the first sustainability committee meeting for this year, or for this school year. So for the Dane County, it's called the Dane County Youth Environmental Committee. I don't know what it was on the thing. It's not Dane County Youth Climate Change Initiative, but that's okay. So I started it last summer. It represents 30 students from 16 schools across Dane County. We're working to inspire each other and to do environmental projects in each of our schools. For example, a student from Belleville wanted to learn about how to do a sustainability resolution in her district. So I was there to give her advice. And likewise, a girl from what was it, Wanakee, she gave me a really good idea for environmental fundraiser. So we just kind of like give each other ideas across Dane County. The website is just dcyec.org. Can I screen share, or am I not allowed to do that?
Let me see. I mean, I would love for you to screen share. Let me just see if I can do it.
Okay.
While she's doing that, how many names do you have on the petition? Any idea?
No, not yet.
Hey, what was the website again?
dcyec.org. Okay, I think I can do it now.
Okay, yeah, I stopped. Yep, I'm seeing it. Well, wait.
Okay. No, it's the wrong, wait.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is just the website. It's really new, so we don't really have pictures like of ourselves yet. But we're 30 students representing 18 Dane County high schools, and we recently started getting partners. So far we have 6: Sierra Club, Project Green Schools, University of Wisconsin Stevens Point, Great Lakes Bioenergy Center, Wisconsin Energy Institute, and Green and Healthy Schools Wisconsin. And the reason why we really want partners is just to demonstrate, to establish like a relationship and demonstrate that we would be interested in working with each other when the opportunity arises. Like, for example, if this committee wanted like student support across the county for something, you could just easily reach out to us. It wouldn't be any there wouldn't be any monetary exchange at all. It's just kind of like a symbol, I guess. So we would just put the logo, like the City of Middleton logo, like in this section. But that would be pretty much it. And if we ever wanted to work together in the future, then that would be okay. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Great.
Thank you for that, Daphne. How did these partners become partners? Is there a formal process? No.
We don't really have a formal process. I just reached out to all the heads of the organizations, and they were just like, yeah, here's a logo. You can put it on your website. And if you have a logo, we'll put it on our website. That's kind of the exchange.
Daphne, how with a virtual school and virtual everything right now, how is it getting people to join groups and to be organized? And can you let us a little insight into what your world looks like right now?
Are you talking about the resolution or DCYC?
I was thinking more of the resolution. Okay. And just
we've been meeting through Zoom basically, but obviously it's really difficult to do that sometimes because there's a lot of like communication issues. And so I think that like we hope to like socially distance soon and like be able to meet all together as a sustainability committee. But so far we're just scheduling the first meeting through Zoom. Yeah.
And Daphne, given that at least some of the high school seniors will be turning 18 in time to vote, is the election part of the discussion at all? Like, given how critical climate change is as a problem facing the nation, are the students active when it comes to voting?
In the resolution or the DCYC?
In either committee. I'm just thinking about, high school seniors, some of which will be eligible to vote in their first presidential election.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think that we've done any work yet on that topic.
Could we encourage you to add that to your agenda?
It's very important.
Yeah, it is really important, especially since, the climate change is a problem for everybody, of course, but your generation is going to feel it more than mine. I'll be gone by then. So I do think, a heightened awareness of the need for political activism, not just on an issue, but just the practical step of turning out the vote. I think that would be a good thing for youth groups to get more engaged in. So I would back Kermit's suggestion. And I don't know, I suppose we need to learn more about the DCYC group so that we could make a recommendation to the city to join. But I think it would be wonderful to see, if it is possible, I think it would be wonderful to see Middleton as the first community to step up.
Yeah, if we could get a motion to support them, then I could put it on the next council agenda for council to approve. They might want to approve it because we're using the logo, and I also think it would probably lend more clout to have the city council behind it and not just
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I wasn't suggesting that we have that authority or should even take that action. I think we need to make sure we understand what we would be referring the city to do. So perhaps we can do that by our October meeting. And then that way the next day at the Common Council meeting, we could make the recommendation.
Are you, Lisa, are you suggesting that we want to get some clarification from Daphne and the DCYEC as to what a sponsorship or partnership means, or?
Yep.
I
Yep.
think we,
And-
I think we look at, I'm sorry, I think we go to the website and read the website and make sure we understand what it is. It's tough if we don't look at it first.
Right. That's all I'm saying is that we need to know what we're recommending. And I'm sure it's going to be fine. And maybe we can act faster in time for the first city council meeting. But at the very least, I feel like we can't make a decision right now. But I do think it looks like a really good opportunity for Middleton to back what the students are doing.
And just to clarify what Daphne said so far, what I've heard Daphne say so far is there's no particular financial commitment, organizational commitment attached to the partnership. It's more a declaration of support of the principles and agenda that the DCYEC is articulating. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, that's completely right.
Great. And then the status of the resolution itself, has it made it through the school board yet, or even to the school board, or is that still on hold?
No. We're setting up the first meeting, but that's pretty much it. All that we're doing is just trying to collect signatures for the pledge and getting more students onto the sustainability committee. But yeah, unfortunately, there has been really no movement with the sustainability committee with the resolution.
Okay. And do you still, Kelly, are we still going to have a conversation with, I'm drawing a blank on her name right now.
Lori Ames.
Yeah. Lori Ames, thank you.
I was a little unclear whether you wanted, I can't remember if you wanted her to attend the October meeting or whether you wanted to try to have a subgroup. I think some people definitely wanted to be there if they could, and it sounded like a big enough group that we should just invite her to the October meeting.
Yeah, I thought it would be great to invite her to the October meeting. She hasn't really responded to like my emails, so like I just don't know like where she's at right now. So we're just trying to get as much work done as possible as students. And
I also seem to recall that there was some the conversation landed at what will facilitate our having a conversation with her. If Monday nights on the third Monday doesn't work, then let's schedule something else. So whatever works to get a chance to have a face-to-face with some portion of the committee and Ms. Ames is what we're trying to get to happen.
How about this? I'll invite her to the October meeting, and if she says, oh, that night doesn't work, but suggest another night, then I'll just immediately send out, I'll ask her what, her availability is, and then send out that to you all, and then we'll find the time that works with those people, and then just get it scheduled.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Kelly. And if she gives you any dates that work, I would just say grab one that works for you and then put a call out to the rest of us to see if, if 2 or 3 can join you. Because we really need to have this conversation and find out what will Thank you, Kermit. I was going to say what's standing in the way of getting this resolution passed, and what can we do to help? I really want to take the approach of, hey, we'd love to help grease the wheels a little bit and move this forward, so how can we help? Because it does seem like there's a little bit of a roadblock, and I'm not sure exactly. I know we had talked about the desire on possibly Ms. Ames' part to see the students come up with an actual plan before the resolution is passed, but that, in my experience, is just not what a resolution is for. It's to get you started working on the plan. And so I really do think we can maybe make a compelling case for taking this to the school board, and I'd be happy. I know there is that conflict. If they do meet on the third Monday, we have a conflict, but maybe one of us could sit out the beginning of a committee, of a sustainability committee meeting, to show up at a school board meeting and make some comments in support of the resolution, and then jump on this call. So,
may I make a suggestion? If you have to go to a different day than our regular meeting for Lori Ames, might you also see if Annette Ashley can join? She's the president of the school board. I already contacted her, and I feel a little put off because I haven't heard from her since. She was going to try to get the students on the agenda for the board meeting, and I mean, I haven't heard from her since, and I know they're busy. They're trying to figure out face-to-face school and all of that, but maybe she could meet on another day if Lori's meeting as well, and then you're kind of got two birds with one stone.
Okay, that's a good idea.
that's a great suggestion. I like that. Thanks, Deb.
And just for the record, we'd be looking at a sub-quorum number of people from the committee for a non-official committee meeting.
Or it could
Correct.
be announced. You could.
Or we could announce it, yeah.
Easy enough.
Yep. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Daphne, for that update, and
Thank you.
keep up the good work. And speaking of good work, that's a nice segue into the city comprehensive plan draft review and feedback. Kelly, I'm going to turn it over to you for an intro to what you have accomplished and what you're looking for from this committee.
All right, this, well, I wish I had a really nicely prepared statement to launch into this, but I don't. It was a major push just to get this, get this. It's been, I guess, 5 years in the making, and it was all done internally. And Daphne Shu, who's our one of the planners in our planning department, did all the graphics, and the graphics aren't completely complete, and I think the introduction is still being written. But what I put in the packet is so far the latest iteration of what we have for the comp plan, and it's divided up into sections. And so the Green City section is the part that I wrote, but sustainability is definitely embedded in a lot of the other sections, especially heavy in transportation and land use and governance. There's some in housing. I mean, if you define sustainability broadly, then all of it is somewhat sustainability related. It's pretty massive. I think it's 137 pages right now. And we'll continue to edit this as we go along over the next month or two. And so this is our one shot. The comprehensive plan is the high-arcing, high-level planning, vision, values statement for the city. So it doesn't get down into the weeds on measuring really specific metrics necessarily, or having data on really, the minutia of street by street kind of data. But so that was really hard for me to figure out, because I'm not a planner, so I haven't read enough comprehensive plans to really have a feel for the gist of what they include or what they don't from city to city. But anyway, I would really appreciate any feedback, and I don't have any ego about anything I've written. So this is our shot to put something into words that will last for a long time. And then from the comprehensive plan, the other plans in the city support the comp plan. So out of the comp plan, you have, the sustainability plan, all the conservancy lands plan, the park open space plans. A lot of the other plans that are sustainability focused as well fall under the comp plan and are more detailed or specific to their particular committees. Like conservancy lands plan is obviously just about the conservancy lands. So, so I feel like what I wrote is sort of a mix of cobbling together a lot of the things in the other plans, my own ideas, trying to meet the moment for how things are shifting on how we think about sustainability and the broader goals in a city beyond, you know, climate change and water use. It's really important to me that we expand beyond that. So it is what it is right now, but I'd really welcome feedback. And I know you didn't have time to read it or, you know, go through it carefully. We can talk about it in depth in October, but you know, if you see gaps that you don't think were addressed in the Green City section, or you see something that you clearly think should be expanded upon in my section, please let me know. Any kind of comment, even any kind of feedback, whether it's tonight or in the coming weeks before our October meeting. I feel like it's a really important plan, because once we have this in writing and it's approved, when we go for budget allocation discussions with City Council, or if we're going to promote anything under the umbrella of the comp plan, if we already have it written into that plan, it's so much more powerful to be able to say, this is written in the comp plan, this is what we're working towards, and it just adds to our arguments. So we want to make this as strong as we can make it, I think, without having to get totally down in the weeds, like the sustainability plan can get more in depth, I think. So yeah. Does anyone have any questions about, like, you know, broader questions about the comp plan in general?
I have a question about the relationship between the two plans, between the comp plan, specifically the Green City chapter, and our Sustainable City plan. It sounds like from what you just said, the comp plan is the overarching document, and what we put in the Sustainable City plan needs to be consistent, but can get more into the weeds, like you said, with specific metrics. That's not included in the comp plan itself. Is that correct, my understanding?
I think so. I mean, I guess one example might be, I don't even know if this is the best example, but in some part of the Green City section, I think I wrote one of the actions or strategies was to create a fleet transition plan. But I wouldn't get into depth on that. It would just, like, it can be sort of a standalone statement, and then maybe in the sustainability plan you would drill down into that more, where you might want to prioritize EVs versus RNG versus hybrids, or talk more about the infrastructure. I don't know. I feel like maybe the comp plan are more kind of broad stroke statements, like the city will promote net zero buildings in all new construction, without having to say, like, exactly every single thing you'd have to do to get there. Whereas in the sustainability plan, it might be like, in the next 3 to 5 years, we'll hire a consulting firm to help us write net zero building guidelines, and then explain it in more depth. I mean, that's maybe, those are some examples. I'm not sure if that's the best way to explain it.
Well, that doesn't help.
Kelly,
I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the existence of two plans that cover some of the same ground. And I want to make sure that, like, if the Sustainable City plan has in it right now, or after our discussion and review of the chapters, there are things in there that aren't in the comp plan in some way, or that wouldn't flow down from the comp plan, then I think we need to make sure, if we really think those should be priorities for the city, we need to make sure those are reflected in your chapter. On the other hand, if there are things in your chapter that we haven't yet covered in the Sustainable City plan, we need to make sure that that matches up too. So there's a lot of cross-referencing and linking up that I think we're going to need to do. And for that reason, I'd like to organize a subcommittee to really go over this, because you've done a tremendous amount of work, and it's no wonder you've been thinking about this plan day and night for months, because you did just a a lot of writing and research, and it's really well done. And I want to make sure that we have those connections between the two plans, or that we know exactly what's in the comp plan right now, the Green City chapter, so that we can make sure that is reflected in our update of the Sustainable City Plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Kelly, do you feel that the comp plan recognizes the challenges that Middleton has to reach its carbon neutral goals that we've adopted for the whole city, not only just the city government, but the whole city? Because we want to make sure that the comprehensive plan recognizes those overall goals, so that, you know, that we're working towards that from the higher level of the comprehensive plan, and let the sustainability plan come in with maybe more detail. But I'm really worried that, for example, the shared solar, we're not really promoting. This is low-hanging fruit to try to gather as much solar energy for our community. And I mean, we need to be pushing every chance we get, and a comprehensive plan is a big deal. So I guess the question is, do you feel that it really understands the challenges of meeting our carbon neutral goals, which was what, 2035 for the city as a whole?
Well, I mean, understanding, I guess that's, you know, me and Abby and Mark and Daphne. Like, we just took a stab at writing it. So it'd be helpful if you could like pinpoint some language that might clarify understanding the challenges of it. I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, there's a bazillion things we should be doing. What's hard for me is, and what's helpful, one reason it's been really helpful to have the committee is that the committee, I think for years, and definitely since I've been here, has helped prioritize the things we should work on and the things we should promote and stuff. But I feel like there's a million things I should be doing, and I don't have, like, I have no support staff. Like, it's just me. And so what I do in the 8 hours during the pandemic with my kids is it's like I can get done what I get done. So it would be super helpful to prioritize, help me prioritize some of those challenges and how to meet those. And then if there's any language that helps also clarify that. I feel like the comp plan is more like, we're going to do this broad stroke thing. We're going to like be carbon neutral by a certain time. And then the sustainability plan hopefully can help us. Maybe that's where we prioritize and lay the strategy out more. Because I do think the comp plan maybe is more vision, but I mean, at the same time, all of us in the planning department have gone back and forth on, we don't want it to just be a fluff strategy or action. We want it to have teeth and have some that will provide guidance. It's just, that comes in the devil in the details of writing, which is so hard. So I really welcome, like, if you can see some strategies or actions in there that you think need to be more clear or more to the point or more detailed, that's super helpful.
My suggestion, guys, would be not only the green section, but one of my goals is, or our goals has been to have sustainability incorporated to all the departments all throughout the city. And as we look at this, and I know it's a huge document, that I got to say it's a beautiful looking document. It really looks, I've seen a lot of sustainable, or a lot of comprehensive plans that are just already documents, and this one actually is you guys have done a great job of like formatting and making it look good. But I think, and I'm going to dig into it over the next few weeks here, but I would say, when people start looking at it, read a page at a time. And if you see something that comes up, say, was this considered in the sustainable eye? Send an email to Kelly while you're doing it and just be like, hey, page 50, I came across this. Does it make sense to expand on this? And at least it gives a little feedback, and it makes it where we can, you know, as you go through it, like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
I like that idea. The only modification I would make, Spencer, is as you're going through it, don't send an email to Kelly every time. Compile one message, just jot down, and on this page I found this, and
Sure.
so that way she doesn't have to track so many different emails.
Good point. Sorry about that, Kelly.
No.
No, I'm super excited for lots of feedback on this. Like, to me, the way I work, which might be important to know, is that I really like to work as a team and not just alone, which is, the pandemic's been hard in that sense, that I'm sort of just in my house doing all this. I like to walk around the office and talk to the public lands people when I have a question and just talk it out, instead of sending emails that get answered 3 weeks later. The back and forth takes a long time. So I really welcome all the feedback, because I feel like it's very rough what I wrote, and like in landscape architecture school, they were always telling us, you have to draw something, even if you feel like you haven't gotten it all thought out, you have to give us something to react to. If you don't give us something to react to, we can't push you forward in your project. So this is what I spit out. And so now I'd so appreciate really taking a look through it.
Kelly, do you have a timeline for what this document, what the life or the shelf life of this document is? Is it meant to be a 10-year plan? Is it a 5-year plan? Is it just 2021?
It's a 20-year plan.
Okay.
So it can be pretty lofty. Like, we can go big on the things we're saying. We don't have to have everything figured out how to do it when we say we're going to do it, like smart technology type stuff. We don't have to know everything. It can be a bit visionary. But one thing that Abby and the city would like to change about the comp plan is that we'd like it to be more of a living document. In the past, things did get changed over the years in the comp plan, but I think everyone wants it to be able to be changed more, because everything's just changing so quickly with a lot of this stuff, that we want to be able to update it regularly. But there's no plan for once every 2 years we take a look at the comp plan. I think it's going to be more, I don't know what actually it'll be, but it is a 20-year plan, but hopefully we'll be able to make changes to it more regularly than in the past.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and comments from us are due on the 19th of October. Am I reading your timeline correct, Kelly?
Let's see, I can pull that up. Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure if the planning department knew that I was planning to share this at this committee meeting.
It does have that date listed.
Oh, I put that in today.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I got it. It just said 10, I guess it says 10/19. So that's when the other planning staff member will be at our meeting, and we'll be able to, I think Daphne's coming to that one, and she'll be able to answer questions on the other sections, because she wrote at least 2 of the other sections, and is familiar with more of the planning economic stuff. So yeah, at the feedback we get at the next meeting, then we'll take that and revise, and then take it to the Plan Commission for discussion and approval in November.
Okay.
And then to council in December.
Okay.
But you can send me feedback throughout the month too, or you can just work on it when you have time, and we can talk again next month.
Well, I do think, given the heft of both of these documents, I think it makes sense to have a small group get together a few times and commit to really going over it with a fine-tooth comb, and having a couple conversations outside of our committee meetings. And actually, I am going to be on a staycation from October 13th through the 19th. So obviously I'll get work done before then in reviewing it, and can have some conversations, pull together a couple Zoom meetings with people. But I guess I'm saying I also have a lot of time coming up where I'm just going to be landscaping my backyard. So I'm happy to dive into this and sketch out, a comparison between the 2 plans, and share that with folks, and then maybe have 2 or 3. What's the magic number? We can't have more than 4.
Yeah, you can have 4.
4. So is anybody else chomping at the bit? Oh, I thought Spencer might. Good. Dick, are you interested in reviewing this with us?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm not able to download it right now, but I'll be in a few days.
Okay. So we can have one more. Kelly, can you be one of the people? Do you want to be one of the people? You sound like you've got, okay.
I can be one of the people, and I don't count for quorum. So there
Okay,
could be
good.
one other person.
Anyone else interested? And of course, everybody is welcome to submit comments, and you can share them with Kelly, and she'll make sure that our subcommittee talks about the comments. But I just recognize this is a lot of reading and a lot of conversations that we need to have to really come up with some productive comments, useful comments for Kelly. And at the same time, it's helping us get our work done with both of these tasks that we've got.
I can help with it.
Great. Thanks, Deb. All right. So that sounds like a plan. Kelly, I will take the action item to reach out to the subcommittee to schedule a couple of calls in the next few weeks. I mean, I'll do that this week, but the calls will be starting next week at the earliest to give us all the chance to read through. Because I think Spencer, you and Spencer both, Kelly, made great points about the other chapters that have a tie into sustainability. And yes, you know, Spencer, the vision, I can't remember if we've talked about this as a group or if it was a subgroup, but the whole vision of the sustainability committee is to basically nudge all the other units of government over towards embracing concepts of sustainability, so that they're just automatically reflected in the work that those units are doing. And in that sense, we'd be working ourselves out of a job, which is good, but that's a long way, a long way in the future, I think. So
one question I have that I'd really love it if you could think about in the subgroup or as a committee is that I did originally have 11 strategies instead of 9. And then under each strategy, I have many actions. But originally, I had listed equity as its own strategy with actions underneath that strategy. And I mean, I can send you the original strategy language I had, but I went back and forth on deciding if I should just embed those actions and that strategy into all the other things, or whether it should be a standalone. And then governance, when I worked on a lot of these chapters also in conjunction with the people writing them. So some of the equity stuff got moved to the governance section. And so just as you read it, if you feel like equity needs to have its own place in Green City, I mean, I think equity is obviously something that needs to happen citywide in all the chapters. But also, like, if you think that sustainability in itself needs its own lens with equity in a specific way, then let me know, because I can put that back in, or I can be thinking about that, or provide you some potential language that you could review. That's a question that I just had a hard time answering when I was writing it.
okay.
Do you want some feedback now, or do you want to table that for offline?
Yeah, either. I mean, I guess it's already 8, so maybe if it's a long discussion, maybe later. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, my brief comment is I think identifying equity as a sustainability concern with particular dimensions is worth incorporating into that frame, because we want to, I think, reserve the right to speak into that issue and encourage other, again, just like with other sustainability lenses or perspectives, we want other groups and other parts of the city to be looking at that also. So just because we say we want to focus on reducing greenhouse gas emissions in our green cities part, that doesn't mean that other parts shouldn't be looking at. Same with equity. I think there's similar weight and importance there.
Okay, thanks for that, Kermit.
I did have a question or two, maybe. So one, the comprehensive plan. One question I find myself thinking is, what's the track record with it? The plan rolling out into actual action, or is that? I mean, has Middleton had a good track record of execution and implementation, or is this, like I think Chris may have been alluding to, one of those? It's put up on the shelf and it's there for the next 10 years until somebody says, oh yeah, to get that next round of funding from the state, we have to submit another plan.
Yeah, I know Abby has said that our other plan was so terribly out of date, but that she was, you know, happy to see that we'd accomplished most of the things that, or a lot of the things that were put into that plan, and it made it even more necessary to get the new one written, because same with the sustainability plan, as you've noticed, like a lot of it's irrelevant because we've already accomplished it years ago. So I think it's a good guiding document. It's not a strategic plan. And I know Mike Davis, the city administrator, has been discussing perhaps putting city budget towards a strategic plan, which would be much more strategic. I mean, I'm not, unfortunately, and Lisa probably knows much more than me, but I have not had a ton of experience understanding there's probably a vocabulary word on how like all the plans in an organization fit together. I'm still learning that as well. So I don't know if you would like implement the comp plan as much as it would be a guiding document for more plans that are implementation plans. I'm not sure.
Okay, and one tool or resource option I'm aware of, I'm just wanting to check to see if it would be helpful. Because the document is in PDF form as it's been provided, Adobe DC, which is an app or program that lets you open and read, and in some cases actually leave comments on the document. Would that be helpful? Like I started going through it earlier and use the comment feature to tag, like basically kind of as a virtual post-it note that kind of can be placed in the document referencing different parts of it. Is that something that would be helpful for providing feedback to you, Kelly?
Yeah, that would be great. The actual original plan is in PowerPoint, which surprised some people for the way it was organized, but Daphne is our graphics visual person, and I think she's done amazing with what PowerPoint can do. So that's its original form. But yeah, if you have a program that allows you to add comments with the PDF, that'd be great.
Kermit, I would hesitate on that just because if the city doesn't pay for the DC plan, I'm not sure if they can read it. I think
but I'm using features from the free one, the free level. So the comment is something you can, at least of the individual free one I have. And maybe I'll send a trial run to Kelly to let her test it to make sure that her version opens.
That's a good idea.
Comments. I'm sorry, Lisa.
No, I was just saying that's a good idea to test it out before you
invest too much in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I go round and round with stuff. I was one of the people surprised that this was in PowerPoint, because while I think it looks beautiful, I also think it makes it more difficult to edit than it would if we had like the Word document. I think the illustrations are important, especially in like the transportation chapter, being able to see maps and things, that's important. But man, I can't even imagine trying to edit in the PowerPoint version. It's just not as friendly for marking up and reviewing as something like Word would be. But I have a Mac for home purposes, so I can't touch anyone's documents anyway, because they're all in Microsoft Word. So
we wrote it in Word, and then we would hand off our finished chapter to Daphne, and then she'd plug it in.
Yeah, I'm hoping the fact that it's already been laid out so nicely and formatted, I mean, there's enough that still needs to be done that I feel confident comments are are definitely welcome, but usually when I see a document that's already laid out nicely, in my work with the federal government or state governments, I'm like, are they really seeking input, or are they already wedded to what they've put together?
Mm-hmm. And just really briefly, a global overall comment, just skimming through it as it, I'm impressed at how much sustainability seems to be insinuated throughout the document. And so, Kelly, to whatever extent you were able to work your magic behind the scenes, or just with Abby and everybody else kind of on board with the ideas, I think it looks really, really promising.
Yeah, I think my chapter is the longest, but I also feel like it bleeds into other chapters. So there was a lot of back and forth on where should this go. But everyone is there were never any ideas that anyone balked at. So I don't think we need to hold back. I mean, we may get comments from Plan Commission or Council, but you know, the planning staff is on board with everything and are, you know, like this and more. So good in that sense.
Great. One thing that I was surprised at is that there wasn't a chapter just on water. And maybe that's because in my work, you know, the increasing global importance of water as, like, you know, the next, well, Great Lakes water wars and future wars about water are predicted, because it's such a precious natural resource that not everybody is blessed with abundant quantities. So I was a little surprised that water was not a standalone chapter, but I haven't read through the plan enough to know whether or not all matters related to water are adequately covered in the various different chapters.
Yeah, I would really welcome expanding what I wrote on any of the water stuff, because I don't know how I organize that, if it's the clearest way, and it can be expanded upon for sure.
Okay. Any other initial comments for Kelly? All right. If not, Kelly, refresh my memory. It's you and me and Spencer and Dick and Kermit. Did you volunteer?
I would love to, but I'm already still working on the greenhouse gas and energy chapter. I may have my subcommittee take a look at the comprehensive plan, though, just to get those eyes on it as well.
Okay,
Said
that's fine. Oh, Deb. Yes,
I think, yeah,
thank you. I
Deb.
knew there was a fourth. I wasn't trying to voluntold you, Kermit.
Nope, that's. I would love to ordinarily, but I'm just.
Sure.
Between
I get it.
Climate advocacy, getting out the vote, and what I've already committed to for the committee, I gotta pace myself.
Yep, completely understandable. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Kelly, and I'll be in touch with the subcommittee with a doodle poll probably as early as tomorrow. Okay, let's move on then to the sustainability plan update: economy, food, and fair trade / community. Who's got that assignment?
Andy and Deb.
Great.
Indeed.
Andy and Deb, we turn the floor over to you.
Okay, so Deb, do you want to go first?
Kelly has to get it up.
Yeah, let me
get the plan up and on the desk. Desktop.
Do you know what? Which one are you doing first?
Probably economy.
Economy. Okay.
Okay, I can go first.
There it is. Economy and then food and fair trade.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much, Katie and everyone, and Deb especially. Deb worked with me. We revise and we also discuss several times before we submit this draft. And Deb also especially provided a lot of great information and also good data sources too. So we help each other. So this section majorly responsible by me and I think before we talk about what we have, I think I have some key things I want to talk about. The first thing is this is the census year, as we know. So a lot of information that's still not updated yet. So the data are probably still like 2016 or 2017. So that's the first thing I want to let everybody know. And then we have some struggles when we revise the section here. So there are some interesting statistics, but I think that we try our best to pick those most straightforward and also meaningful. Directly, we can see the impact. For example, like economy. Okay, so we added a new measure called poverty and so on. So I want to let you know. And some of the measures we cannot find the updated information. So when we discuss, please keep this in mind. I would love to include as many as possible, but the key thing is how would that be meaningful to our sustainability plan? And we cannot, do as many. We cannot, have unlimited pages. So we surely have some kind of a constraint or limitation on the page numbers. And then the number 3 is, I think there are some great ideas, and Deb and I bounce back and forth. And we also have some interesting questions about, we also struggle about, we do not have any data for those. And probably you can see that when I present the new draft to you. So those are the 3 key things I hope we keep in mind before we talk about what we have right now. So for current, tables and also new measures here, I think I have 3 things for our maybe discussion or further thoughts. The first thing is I have some updates, and that's in red. If you scroll down and see things that they are in red, yep, and those are the updates. And overall, our conclusion about economy, food, and fair trade is, I think we are in a good shape. That's my overall view after updating the numbers here. And finally, surely we look forward to your feedback. But I know because of our time constraint here, I don't look forward to, we now revise the wordings. And you tell me, what to revise, and then we change the wordings right now. So if you have, further ideas and good data sources, we can put into the table. And I think please, send that through email. Deb and I would be very happy to include them. Also, for example, in the table, there is one column. Katie, would you scroll up? Yep, up. Keep going, and yep, keep going. 169. Yep, this page. Yep, here. So there is a column called 20. Down a little bit. Katie, yep. So 2020 target. When I read this, I'm wondering if that's needed for our city plan. So what's the meaning, and what should we do about this? So that's something I want to say. So this is my overall idea after revise the plan. So let me talk about a little bit specific things what we updated here. So this table is old. Our first idea is probably we need a new table, in my view. For example, like the indicators, the second line here, number of jobs in the city per capita. We cannot find that information anymore. And I try to go to the original data source, but I do not find anything. Okay, so likewise, if I could update the table and keep the original record, I try to do that. But if it's something I cannot find, so I just don't know how to do that. So if you have any idea about the data sources, happy to, and please send to me. So that's why I kind of keep the old table here. And Katie, would you please scroll down to next page? Yep, I try to follow the same and create a new table here. If those are all the measures, I keep them here. If, for example, like a city median household income, the previous table in 2009, it's about like $50,000. 2016, updated to 67. And then 2009, most current, actually it's 2018, based on the census data, it's $74,000. So the net change from 2016 to 2018, that's about 9.5%. That's something I keep the old, and I keep tracking the number. And the new things I added is employment. I found that it's a new and probably pretty straightforward to have a good idea about our economy. And then also poverty. But I cannot find the 2016 like a data or previous data. So the poverty is about 6%. If you have any question about the definition, actually you can go to the source, and it varies. There is no like a absolute number for every city. It varies by city and varied by household income and so on. So that's something I want to show you. In the next, so the 3 items about economy. The next 4 lines here, those are updated, and we have the current old data and the new data too. So the net change here, the number 4 columns here, you can see probably for the north side, that's has a bigger decrease. And for others, we have some increases, especially for the Cromry. It's about like 11%. And thanks for that, guide me to, we limit our data on the limit of Middleton, not the entire school district, including Cross Plains. Yep, and Katie, would you please scroll down? So that's for the food. For the fair trade, we do not find anything about fair trade. So Deb and I added one more fair trade like a measure. Would you please go up, Katie?
Go back, yeah.
Yeah.
I can take the fair trade.
Yeah. Go up a little bit, Katie.
One up.
Yeah,
Okay.
Here. Okay, good. So Deb, talk about fair trade further.
Yeah, so you can have fair trade status as a city, Madison does, and when the Sustainability Committee was kind of in its initial years, I actually had the Ecology Club put together a program to come to the Sustainability Committee and try to get Middleton to get fair trade city status, but I don't think it ever went anywhere because we don't have that status. But basically, you need one business per 5,000 in the population that sells at least 2 items that are fair trade. And so this criteria, the number of Middleton businesses which sell fair trade items, when I just Googled that, I came up with about 8 businesses, and Starbucks wasn't one of them. And I know Starbucks sells fair trade coffee, at least 2 different kinds. And so I think we would not have any problem doing that if we wanted to go for fair trade status, city status. So Willie Street Co-op was one of those businesses. I know we've got 2 Starbucks. There's 3 right there. So anyway, I think we could get at least that criteria. And because you only need a couple of items sold per business, I thought the number of Middleton businesses which sell fair trade items would be a better or an easier number to get rather than a % of businesses within the total. So, and the other couple of things that you need to do is just you have a committee set up to try to promote fair trade in your city. You have meetings where you serve fair trade coffee. I mean, it's pretty easy, it seems like, to meet the qualifications, and then and we could have that label. So that's something to think about if you want to move forward with trying to have Middleton get fair trade status, city status. So Andy, I guess that's that for fair trade.
Indeed, yep. That's the same as information I have too. So the table, I think the table here, Katie, just scroll down and here, and no, up, please. Yep, thank you. Yep, you can see. So we added, one more like action item here. So this is an action table. So you see the previous table is about the fact, about the data, what we are right now, and then the next table will be action. So I think the format is consistent with the previous one. So that's what we have about economy, food, and the fair trade.
And now we have community to look at.
Yeah, and the next will be a community. So
is that further down?
I think so, yeah.
Page 32, I think.
Yeah, this is it.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So let's see. A lot of this was done in 2017, which is pretty current. So really the only thing, well, where do you get the number of housing units designated as affordable? Does anybody know where you find that information?
Abby can get that. She's talked about that before, and she knows what that means. We could define it better probably there.
And then
I think the Workforce Housing Committee could come up with that number for us.
Okay.
They know how many units in the city are charged at an 80% of the, it's like the added average median income or something. They take an 80% of that. And so then I think they know exactly which landlords are qualifying people as workforce housing units. So I think that's where that would come from, is Abby.
Okay, okay. So if you scroll, I guess, down to the next page. Okay, I added 2. One is Daphne's resolution. We're partnering with the district to reduce the carbon footprint in accordance with the city's renewable energy timeline. So, that's ongoing. I'm hoping that gets passed sooner than later, but that's one of the additions. And the other one was work to reduce bird collisions in the city through education and building codes. So hopefully we get a task force together to meet and start working on that. As it turns out, Madison is the first community in Wisconsin to come up with bird collision sort of building codes. And so if we get moving on this, we might be number 2. So, that would be a good thing. And so anyway, so those are the 2 things I added to community. Otherwise, the rest of this is as 2017 was added.
Great, thank you.
So any questions or any further thoughts, suggestions?
Would it be possible to get copies of these pages? It's always frustrating with the share screen option because it's hard to have it match my pace of reading, and then when I want to double back for a question, so that would be helpful as far as spending a little time outside of the meeting to just skim through it and then actually give some feedback if anything pops for me.
Yeah, I can send this out, just not the whole packet, just this document to the committee.
Or just the few pages that they're highlighting here, even if that's easy enough. One question I have as far as community, it's maybe there wasn't a lot to it to begin with, but it seems like there could be more. And that's where I'm like wanting to scroll back up and go, did I miss something? Is there something a little meatier? But community, I guess, had at least conjured up a resiliency, food security, blah, blah. I don't see those indicators or actions doing a lot to address that vision. And again, I can't say I've read it all in detail because screen size and scrolling, but that's a question or concern I have. The vision is ambitious and huge, and the indicators and actions don't seem to be at scale for the vision.
Well, I guess I'm confused, Kermit, on when we put in workforce housing, when you put that in, what say-so do we have as a sustainability committee in getting more workforce housing? I mean, that's really not our purview, is it? Or is it? How do we encourage?
I see this document as one that's aspirational and visionary. And so now is the time to say, this is what we're casting as the vision, and these are the steps that we think might go there. And if the council goes thumbs down and says we're not going to fund that, then that's their decision. But I think if anybody is going to be pushing that opportunity, that challenge, it's going to be us.
Right. I guess I see our committee, I don't think of the Sustainable City Plan as necessarily being our work plan, if you will. Going back to that idea of this committee nudging the other units of government, I think it's fair to have in the plan some things that we ourselves can undertake, but then other things that if you follow our definition of sustainable as applying to all our neighbors, what are some of the things like the workforce housing that we think are necessary to make Middleton a sustainable city, but we're not the ones who would carry it out. It would be something that we would be recommending for land use or
Right.
whatever. But I think Deb raises a good point. We need to be clear which of these actions we're recommending for others to take and which ones fall on us. And maybe there's a way in the final version that we can distinguish between those two sets.
Well, it's all back to economics. If you're a young person and you want to work and live in this community and you're starting out and you're in a service-oriented type job where you're making $11 an hour or 12, and not even the 15 that we're hoping that someday we'll get as a federal minimum, you can't afford housing to live in this community. And so we need these kinds of housing opportunities. My daughter was just able to get into one because she doesn't make enough money, and Middleton has built some over behind the Culvers there off of Parmenter. And so if we want people to have a quality of life here, and yet they can't earn enough money at the types of starting service jobs, if it's got to be all high-tech, high-education stuff, then we're really not a very diverse community. So we want people that are also in the service sectors to be able to live here, and I think that goes to this affordable housing thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how do you come up with a number? You know, if we have the percent of housing units designated as affordable, what would be, see, I didn't know where to get that number.
What is the state set? There must be state standards or something about, for cities, about what affordable housing as far as, you know, percent of units available or something, or number of units or something like that. Number of units per capita or some unit, you'd think.
I don't know that that's mandated.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
Lead for Cities has a standard that directly relates to that, and we don't meet it right now. But I would love to meet it. It's one of the major credits as part of the Lead for Cities is having a certain percentage of people able to cover their housing and their transportation with a certain percentage of their income. I think it's
right.
somehow like that.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah, and I think Deb, as far as, you know, some of these numbers, you may not have the expertise to nail down, and I don't have the expertise. But I think in terms of this plan review process we're in, I think it's totally appropriate to say, okay, a number needs to be found that's appropriate and moves us, and this is a research project we need to get a consultant for, or we need to ask Kelly in her abundant free time on staff, but basically flag it as this is worth including even if we can't figure it out because we're just volunteers and we're not urban planners, or we're not, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Angie, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think I probably think about a different direction. We have a section or a committee or a function taking care of housing. In the comp plan I review from Katie's document, I also see there's a big section about housing. So why I say the root of the plan here, the section here is how do we define the community and what kind of a scope we want to take care in terms of sustainability. I think we probably need to think about that. And then if there is another big section about housing, I think we probably don't want to duplicate the work, in my view. And I totally agree that just mentioned that we need to have affordable housing. So I completely agree. So how do we, you know, so I think probably back to Kermit that just mentioned, I think probably we need to rethink about the mission. Rethink about the vision statement here. So if you read two sentences here and you have some ideas how to better refine that, please send to us. And I think that would be wonderful. That's my thought.
Yeah. Well, do you want to use the LEAD definition of affordable? What percent we should use?
Well, I think that's being written into the comp plan, so you could use it here. Another way to move on, or another way to approach this is we could say back up and say maybe there should be a link between a sustainability committee member should sit on the workforce housing committee as well. A lot of committees have people who double up for that reason because the committee work overlaps so much. And that's something that
Right now, that's me.
And that's you right now. Yep.
Okay.
Sometimes the alder isn't necessarily on both. So maybe that we could write that into the plan that there always needs to be someone who sits on both committees at the same time as a liaison.
I see Angie has a comment. She's sharing in chat. Is that registering?
What'd she say?
Perhaps we should take a look at our poverty rates and food insecurity rates and start there.
You guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I just, if we don't know where to start, maybe just looking inside at our own community and seeing what kind of need is out there would give us one yardstick of what our needs are, and then looking at other resources, like if there is a lead number that would recommend a certain percentage. In a perfect world, I think we could address everyone's needs, and that might not be realistic, but it might be maybe looking at what our needs are first is one lens to look at this through.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great idea and valid in my view. And I think in the previous section, economy, food, and also fair trade, food already have that kind of information. So that's why I think we need to think about the scope of a community section, what kind of idea we want to put into this section. And that's directly related to sustainability. Yeah. So, yeah.
And another challenge I see in terms of defining community, how we engage it, especially in terms of poverty. I mean, one way to drive the poverty rate to zero is to make the housing expenses so high that nobody lives here in the city except people with incomes way beyond the poverty level. And so on paper, we get, look, we're at 0% poverty rate, but it's only because, so I think we need to be sensitive to the metrics that we are using to try to make a diverse community, because if one of the sustainability principles, I think, is that diversity is more sustainable. And so if we turn into a monoculture of upper middle class, which perhaps we have already turned into effectively, we need to ask ourselves questions. Is that truly sustainable? Is that because it isn't diverse, or it's moving away from diversity?
Kermit, just to address that, I know that the city is very sensitive to wanting people in the workforce housing sector to be able to live here. It is why you see more apartments being built. It is because we do not want people having to drive in from out of town. We do not want to have the pollution on the Beltline. We want people to be able to bike or to walk to work. So in that sense, the sustainability sort of creed is already blended in with the workforce housing. We want that Beltline traffic down. We want, and people get mad when they see more apartment buildings going up, but we are landlocked. We are landlocked by the lake on the east. We are landlocked by the town of Middleton on the, south and west, and landlocked by the north by the town of Springfield. And we want to be able to have more, it sounds weird to say, but the density, if you can actually use less water, if you have more apartments in one piece of property as opposed to a single unit, a single residence. And so I would assure you that that's not how the stats are being massaged.
Oh, well, I'm just speaking in terms of what we identify as key indicators and actions that we reinforce that. I'm not saying, because I'm totally aware that the city is talking about this issue and workforce housing is engaging it. I'm just wanting us to reinforce and visionize and help move in that direction to make sure that we don't set ourselves up for false success. You know, that
I would say that it would probably work really well to go both ways, in that the sustainability committee could say, you know, we support putting more residents in one piece of property versus you know, large parcels, etc. I think there's more overlap there again.
Yeah, and that
can be done at a later date.
And that was something that came up when Kelly and Dick and I were discussing the land use chapter. I think there's a metric in there right now about the number of, or the percentage of housing units that are in multi-family buildings or something along those lines. And the revised draft from 2017 was indicating that that number, like the desirable outcome would be for that number to go down. And we were all like, no, shouldn't that number go up? If we're, you know, if we're trying to be more sustainable, don't we want more multi-family units? So yeah, I think that these are good points that people are bringing up to think about. Like Kermit said, you know, in a strange way, maybe we don't want to drive the poverty rate down at this time because we want to be able to bring in people, you know, the workforce development. We want the people who have those non-tech service jobs that might not pay for, you know, a house in Middleton Hills. We want those folks to be able to live here and work here, and yet we recognize that, you know, perhaps they're not going to have the means to be completely food secure and housing secure. So yeah, we don't want to drive the poverty rate to zero just by keeping people out. We want to bring people here and then drive the poverty rate to zero. Another thing that occurred to me is some interesting metrics might be to look at, and again, you know, it's all a question of what do we have access to, but instead of the median household income, or in addition to that, I should say, I think it'd be useful to see like what's the lowest quintile, you know, and how does that match up with the with rents? You know, just thinking in terms of what are people making at the lower end of the income range, and how does that compare to what it costs to get housing at the lower end of the rent range in Middleton, and how do those align? You know, is it just completely unaffordable to get housing on a minimum wage income? I'd be curious to see those, but again, I'm not sure what's available to us.
And there again, part of what we might have the bandwidth and energy to do at this stage of reviewing and refining the plan is to say some metric needs to be defined which meets these criteria that will allow us to actually know whether people are able to afford housing at lower income levels. Or I mean, because you gave a rather sophisticated kind of set of parameters to try to measure, Lisa, and I think somewhere out there is a way to get that, I think. And if we can, if all we do is say a new metric needs to be defined, which takes into account these 4 or 5 issues, I think that would be a valuable thing to do. And then when we get that consultant to finish the final version of the plan, maybe they can fill in the blanks, or we can decide how much time we need to take of Abby's to figure it out. Or
or maybe the lead people have already defined it.
Or maybe the lead people.
Maybe they have. But I think rents, just because people are renting, that's not necessarily affordable. I think the rents are very high in Middleton as well.
And that what that causes is it causes more people to live in one apartment because, you know, you have to pack them in because they can't afford, a 2-bedroom apartment for 2 people. So you got 4 people living there or something. So the rents are very high here.
Just like New York.
And and so if we have service jobs, you would think if we could identify the number of people that have service jobs or lower income type jobs in Middleton, that we ought to be able to provide housing so that those people could live here. That to me, that sounds like a diverse, sustainable community, rather than force them to go live in some older, more depressed areas of, say, Madison or something.
Well, it'd have to be subsidized housing, I would think.
Right.
Yeah.
Quite likely.
So final thing I want to mention here is when you talk about jobs in Middleton, and Deb raised that question. Interestingly, I saw that in the comp plan. If you go to page 60 of the comp plan, there is an interesting a figure there. So Katie, could you go to the comp plan, page 60?
I will try to do it.
Page 60 on my PDF is a tax increment financing chart or map.
Yeah, go down after this one.
This one?
Yep, go down. Go down, please. Yep. Now it's 52. Go down, please.
61.
Lower, 60. Lower right corner, 60. The comp plan 60.
Sorry, I can't.
Yeah,
so
go
six
down.
more
Go down.
pages,
Down
Kelly.
to 60 on the comp plan. Okay.
Yeah, now, not the PDF 60.
Okay, I got it.
Yep, here. Okay. Yep, here. Go up, please. Yep. Okay, left side here. So everyone has the PDF file. You can take a look. This one. Up a little bit. Up a little bit. Yeah. Okay, here. Middleton jobs.
Okay.
Yeah. So everyone can take a look and think about that. Just want to mention that there are some good numbers in the comp plan already. So I think also housing too. But for the question about how to match the jobs and the housing or affordable, like a pay and the housing, I don't see that. But there are some interesting numbers in housing section too, if you review. Yeah, just want to mention this.
Yeah, that's a great page. Thanks for mentioning that, Andy.
I think Kurt Paulson could also be a really good resource for that. He knows a lot of that off the top of his head, and he wrote, I think, a lot of it, or not a lot of the comp plan, but he's done a lot of work with these statistics locally.
And he teaches it every day.
Great. Well, any other questions, comments for Andy and Deb? This is great work, you two. Thank you very much for your review. And we'll, Kelly, if you can get the Word version out to folks, if that's possible, then we can all review it. Actually, Kelly, do you have a compilation of all of the markups that you've received so far?
No, that's what I want to do now that the comp plan is kind of off my plate for a couple weeks maybe, is compile all the comments into one plan so that at least we can just look at one document with all the edits as they stand right now. But that'll take me a little bit.
Sure. Well, in the meantime, would you be able to send the various marked up chapters to us? So that, because I know I would like to go through, and I'll do this for our subcommittee, I'd like to go through and just, like I said, line up. I'm a visual thinker, so I need to see, like, here's what the comp plan says, and here's what our plan says right now, and link them. So I want to make sure I'm using the most recent version or, you know, the reviewed versions of the chapters.
Okay, so send you all the chapters that the subgroups have worked on?
Yep.
Okay, and then some people sent separate vision statements in various emails. So it'll just take me a little bit to go through, find all that. It's kind of a mess. It needs
there's no way that we can have like a shared folder somewhere, is there? Like, even if it's a public shared folder?
I'm laughing because of the trouble I had trying to get something. Kelly and I went back and forth, and we tried this and that. We finally got something to work, but that's just for the greenhouse gas and energy chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think because it would be everyone looking at it and commenting, it would be a quorum working on something.
Okay.
So yeah, unfortunately, it's not at all efficient way to do government work.
Well, whoever said government's efficient.
Don't badmouth government.
There's very little that's efficient.
That democracy thing.
And just
democracy
for
is
the
messy.
record, I'll just say, resiliency and efficiency work against each other. If you have a resilient system, whether it's an ecosystem or an organization, you have to have some slop in it, otherwise it's too brittle. So
redundancy.
Again, I'm just putting in a plug for government. I think, you know, we're doing our best. We're part of it.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
What was that, Dick?
I said, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Speaking of efficiency, Dick cuts right to the chase. Okay, well, I will take that as a motion. Dick, is that your motion?
Yeah.
All right.
I will second it.
Katie seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? All right. Well, thank you everyone for hanging in there. It is, I can't even tell what time it is, but again, great work, everybody, from Kelly and Daphne on down to Deb and Andy with this review. Much appreciated. And I'll be in touch with the subcommittee folks to set up some calls. And Kelly, if you'll get me those files, I can start digging into both plans and just trying to pull out the goals and objectives and all those things and try to sketch it out for everybody.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank